Trucker Mark 55. Hello, Sammy. If you had a time machine and was able to go back in time to have a sit down, what legendary boss from the past and who would it be?
I really don't know. I mean, I knew, especially when I became the underboss, even before that, I sat down with a lot of bosses. When I went to the meeting in the Concrete Club, there was bosses of all the families except for Paul. He sent me to go to that meeting. And so they were all pretty good guys with me. I respected them all. I had 2 or 3 meetings with Chin, with really tough situations. And he was a perfect gentleman. I mean, he was really a good guy. You know, if you did stupid shit around him, he would get a little angry. I found him to be a perfect gentleman. And Fat Tony and Tony Ducks and even Paul Castellano, they were all pretty good guys to deal with. Joe Colombo, I knew him before Carmine Persico. Joe Colombo was a good guy too. I dealt with him. That's where I did my first hit in his family. He was alive. He's the one who gave me the hit. He gave it to Carmine Persico, who gave it to me. He was a good guy too. Very sociable, easy to talk to. You know, when the guy's a boss and you're not, or even if you're just a made guy, you don't just go walking up to a boss. Carlo Gambino was probably the best. When I met him, I wasn't a made guy for the first time. And I mean, he treated me like gold. He made me a cup of coffee. It was 5 guys he had in the apartment. He asked me, "You want coffee?" I said, yes. He says, "You drink espresso?" I said, yes. And he went and make it himself for me. And he put it in, what do you take, Anisette? Yeah, Anisette. And he put Anisette in there, and he put an orange peel or lemon peel around the border, and he gave it to me. I mean, I was surprised because when I said yes, I thought one of his guys would go and get it. But he did it himself. And I thought that was really a big thing. That's when I got transferred from the Colombo family to the Gambino family. I wasn't made yet. Tato Arello took me to meet him. And he welcomed me on board into the Gambino family, him himself, which I thought that was really incredible.
Granite Man just said, mob protects all businesses in their neighborhoods.
Well, I don't know about protecting all businesses. I mean, if it's not their business, then, you know, that's it. We don't like people coming around in our neighborhood. It's our neighborhood. We don't like child molesters or rapists or weirdos coming into our neighborhood and hurting our people. We feel that this is our neighborhood. These are our people, whether they're with the Mafia or not. We don't want you doing shit like that. Even stick-ups and shit, we're not too crazy about that. We do take care of the neighborhood to an extent, but if I don't know your business and I don't know you, I don't stick my nose in where it doesn't belong.
We had a question from Taylor Allgood again in your super chat. Sammy, the ladies' man. We all know about the 19 guys, but what was your other count, if you catch my drift? Oh, boy. I'm going to leave that up to Sammy if he wants to answer that one.
No, I don't. I don't count. I don't do counts. And I don't talk about women that I've been with. You know, I don't do that. It's just not my cup of tea. You know, I may say I did something or whatever, but I'm not going to say with who or whatever. I think that's cheap and disgusting for a guy to say something. She loved you. She was with you. She took care of you. And now what are you going to do? Talk about her? I don't do that. That's not me.
Eduardo Hernandez back in the super chats. In your old podcast, you spoke about your father's Goombah. Is there any more stories about him? And also, what happened to the old podcast, This Is Our Thing, or is it still called that?
It's still called Our Thing. The guy, Suvido was his name. He was a made guy. He was from Italy. I didn't know him well. I knew of him because he was a friend of my father's. And I knew they were very close. They came out of the same town in Italy. They knew each other in Italy, Sicily. And then he went back to Italy. I came in a couple of times, but then I didn't see him no more. He went back to Italy and he lived in Italy and stayed in Italy.
Cheesy potatoes again. What were your favorite pasta dishes your mom made when you were a kid? Do you like pecorino better or parmigiano?
All Italian food. I mean, I eat it just about all until they get weird. They start eating, eyes and the weird shit. They call it sweetbread. It's the cow's brain. They take it, they almost like a hamburger. They make it, they fry it, they eat it. I didn't want to eat it when I was a kid. My grandmother told me what it was and I didn't want to eat it. But once I tasted it, it was pretty good. And then she said, Sammy, here's another specialty one day. And it was the eyeballs, the eyeballs of a cow or something. And it's supposed to be a delicacy. I never put it in my mouth. As soon as I knew what it was, I didn't eat it. But so many old greaseballs, they love that shit. I didn't eat that. I ate the cow breasts once, and it wasn't bad. It was, fried, nothing different, but I didn't like it because I didn't want to start eating that weird shit. I used to eat snails too. And one day I took a snail out. That was dead. I took it out, put it in my mouth to eat it, and it almost felt like it wiggled when I bit, and I almost threw up. I spit it out, and I said, "No, I never ate snails again. I just couldn't. It's slimy. It didn't hit me right, and I thought it moved. It probably didn't. When I bit it, it moved. Not that it was alive; it was dead, but it just hit me the wrong way. So I didn't eat that no more either."
Amur 45. Do you know if the mob could have or did have a hand in the UPS union back in the day and had some schemes with UPS deliveries?
I have no idea.
Jonathan Dakin again. You've made my day. Thanks for the answers.
Thank you too, bro.
Raven Miyazaki. Just a kick up to you. They said, love you, Sammy.
Thank you, Raven.
Atari Kid. Back in The Sopranos, one of Tony's guys inherits $2 million. Later on, he gave Tony an envelope. How much was in that envelope? A kick up to be expected. Yeah, I think he's asking, how much would you expect from a guy with millions and millions of dollars?
Well, yeah, that's three different numbers, millions and millions and millions. I don't know. I know the Lufthansa heist that came up. They gave Paul Vario, I think it was $1 million in an envelope, so a box from that heist. But it was a big heist. I forgot how much it was, $15, $20 million, whatever it was. But they gave him $1 million, cold cash.
Tanji 20251. I watch you all the time. You are a fantastic storyteller. Was Crazy Joe popular with women?
Yeah, I think he was. He was. He went out with a lot of models, actresses, and stuff. Yeah, he liked women and a lot, and famous women. Not that, they didn't have to be that famous, but they were a model and actress, really beautiful, well built. Yeah, he liked women.
Von Beowulf in the super chat. Mr. Gravano, if you were a top boss like Carlo Gambino, would you change any of the rules of Cosa Nostra, or could you?
You can't. You'd have to make a proposal while there was a commission. You go to the commission and you give your argument to 4 or 5 bosses sitting there, why you want to change a certain rule, and then they vote on it. They think about it, they talk about it, and then they make a decision. And you, as the one boss, you live by that decision.
Pimp in distress. I know y'all got a lot of pushback for the murder of Paul. Was it the same big fuss when they killed Anastasia?
No, not at all. Everybody wanted him to go. He was called the Mad Hatter. He was killing people left and right. When you kill people that don't deserve to die and you start getting into that kind of shit, no, they want to get rid of you. We have rules. And a boss, even if it's a boss, he can't just say, I feel like killing Joe Blow. Especially when Joe Blow is a made guy or a captain. What, you don't like him? We don't give a fuck who you like. You just can't kill people randomly whenever you feel like it because you're a boss. That's why he went. And nobody cared.
Let's see. From Ghost. Sammy, did you know Shorty Norman?
Shorty Orman? Mm-hmm. I don't think so.
Daniel would like to know if you could meet any 1920s gangster, who would it be?
I would have loved to meet all of them. I would have loved to meet Al Capone, even though he was a little crazy. Joe Bonanno. I'll tell you a little story about Joe Bonanno. After I cooperated, I left the mob and I went to Arizona and I was living in Arizona. Joe Bonanno was sitting with his son, Salvatore Bonanno, and another guy who was a cooperator. He didn't know it. The guy was wired. And he said, listen, I heard that Sammy ended up here in Arizona. Make an appointment with him for me. And Salvatore Bonanno said, why do you want to meet with him? He's a fucking rat. And he says, you never want to grow up and learn the life. He's a killer. If he wants to take over Arizona, guys are going to end up in trunks. Maybe some of us will wind up in a trunk. I want to be able to talk to him and negotiate with him and tell him we have no anger against him. We blame John Gotti, what he did. We know why he cooperated, and he won't have a problem with us. A guy came down and told me, he says, Joe Bonanno wants to talk to you. And I said, why? About what? And he told me why. So I told him, listen, I have a lot of respect for the old man, and I'll sit with him, but under my conditions, where I want. So me and him are safe. Tell him that. He did, and he came back, the guy, and he said, listen, Joe said, it's not necessary to sit down. All I want to tell you, I know you're here. You're never going to have a problem with me or my people. And if you have a problem with anybody, let me know. I will give you a hand. I have a ton of respect for you. I said, okay. A day after that or 2 days after that, the FBI called me up and said, Sammy, were you going to meet with Joe Bonanno? I said, yes, I was. About what? I said it was personal. He thought maybe I would make a move to take over Arizona. I told him I had no interest in that. And it was a cordial thing. So we didn't need a meeting. And we didn't meet. But let me ask you guys something. How the fuck do you know? They said one of the guys who was sending the messages or whatever is a cooperator. And he told the FBI in Arizona about the meeting. And they got in touch with us in New York. So I sent another message to him, and I said, this message is, I don't know who you were talking to, who was in your meetings, but somebody there was wired. The FBI in Arizona told me about the meeting, and they told the New York FBI they talked to me too. So just keep your eyes open, bro. And that was that.
Kathleen, you wanted to ask him if he's ever been to the coast or the mountains, specifically of Oregon.
Oh, a simple answer, no. I've never been to Oregon, period.
Yeah, JB Weld, did the Gambinos have any crews out of state other than the Connecticut crew? Did they get more powerful than the New York crews because they had no competition?
No. New York was the center of where the power was, with all the families. And even families that didn't belong in the 5 families in New York, who were outside of New York, like upstate Buffalo or in Philadelphia or in different states, the hub of the commission was in New York. Now, it was the 5 families, but some people from out of town, bosses, sent in their opinion through a sitting boss. Like Philadelphia had Angelo Bruno. Angelo Bruno was very close to Carlo Gambino, and he would send in a vote with Carlo Gambino. So when Carlo Gambino came to the table, he had 2 votes, his own and the boss of Philadelphia.
OG Pope, Y60. Sammy, my patron, did you guys fight with the Bronx Albanians and Alex Rudaj, mob boss, is free now?
No. We didn't fight with too many people. We were huge. It was hard to fight with us. And people bowed away from those fights. There was biker gangs, the Hells Angels, and people who, they wouldn't fuck with us. There's too many of us, and hundreds of fucking hit guys. Even the Westies, you'd have to be fucking half crazy to fuck with the mob. And we gave them their distance, and we didn't try to bully them or, there was very few arguments. We let them do their thing. We did our thing. There wasn't that many arguments. I don't remember, an Albanian group. There was a lot of Albanians. They're tough guys too, but they did their thing. There was the Russian Mafia right in Brooklyn where I was, and I dealt with them a lot. They were pretty good guys. They had union connections that I needed, and we had union connections. We got along good. Matter of fact, I went to this guy's club one time. Their club was different than ours. We had a club with card games and sitting down and bullshit, drinking coffee. They had a club. They had strippers there throwing money at the strippers. It was a different environment, but that's what they did in their club. And I respected that a lot. I got along. One guy, really, really good. And then he went back to Russia. He got promoted and he went back to Russia. So there's a lot of mobs. We dealt with, black mafia, with not all of us, but some of us with drug dealers back and forth, Mexican mafia and people like that. So we had a lot of relationships. Chinese mafia, I forgot what they called them, Vietnamese mafia. And some of those crews were real dangerous. They come out of countries that are real dangerous.
Flame 30. What was your opinion on Joe Gallo? Sending love.
I think he made mistakes. He tried to bite off more than he could chew, and they all got slaughtered.
Anubis 2078 asked, did Angelo ask John to kill Robert DiBernardo because Angelo owed DiBernardo $250,000 and didn't want to pay it back?
Yes, but it had nothing to do with John Gotti. Angelo did that on his own. John Gotti was in jail at the time when he borrowed the $250,000, and I can attest to it. John really had nothing to do with that. He had no idea that happened that way. He was told that DB was talking behind his back by Angelo. Angelo had the visits. Angelo was trying to get him killed, which he got him killed, to not pay the $250,000. But that didn't come out for a long time. Whoever said that knows the story pretty good. It's true. But that's what happened. But John Gotti had no part in that whatsoever.
Il Gatto. What's a baloney? Grazie.
El Gato, I know where you got that. It's a lot of baloney. And in one of my arguments, I don't want to say who said that, but he knows who said that. When I was saying something, he says, hey, Sammy, that's a lot of baloney. And I flipped. It was with Michael Franzese. And I said, a lot of baloney? Who the fuck talks like that? What mobster talks like a lot of baloney? It's a lot of shit or a lot of whatever the fuck you want to say, but a lot of baloney? I never heard that before. And that was that thing with Patrick.
Okay.
That argument.
That's funny.
Give me one more question and then we're going to wrap it up.
TJ, he said, Sammy, this is your Navajo listener. Let's smoke a peace pipe. And then he says, who is your favorite mob actor? All the best.
I think this guy, he might be an Indian. In prison, I joined the Indian group and we passed the peace pipe. I went to the Indians and I said, there's no more smoking in prison. And I wanted to smoke. And they were smoking because they had the tobacco for the pipe. So I asked them if I could join their group. And they said, yes, as long as you get the chaplain to okay you, and they will put you as an Indian. And you'll be able to be in our group. So they welcomed me in the group. So when the guy asked me, why do you want to come in the group? I says, I want to smoke. And I want to steal some of the tobacco so when I get back in my cell at night, I could light one up and puff away. He said, we do the same thing. We rob it. He says, you could be with us. Yes. At least you're honest. But I'm going to be honest, when I went into that ceremony, I sat there, we passed the pipe. I started to understand and learn their religion and their beliefs. I got to respect it. We did rob some of the tobacco. I got some, they got some. And I told the guy, I says, I got to respect this religion now. It says, it only lasted about the ceremony in the yard, about 20 minutes, a half hour, maybe a little longer. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that it almost felt like I wasn't in prison. We had like a teepee, and we were in that teepee smoking the pipe. And it almost felt like I wasn't even in prison anymore. I'll tell you a couple of things they did. They got the pipe with their right hand, and they take a puff, and they put it down to their heart, and then they pass it to the next guy. So they're sending their heart, their love, and their respect. And it was such a good ceremony. I got to really enjoy it. I felt like I wasn't in prison. And then I went back to my room with the tobacco that I stole, rolled up a couple of fucking joints, smoked it at night after the guard made his rounds. That's what I did. I was open with it. I was honest with it. And I got to enjoy it and respect it. And I got friendly with some of the Indians there. And they liked the idea I was with them.
Awesome. Okay. I think that's all, guys. If we missed any super chats, I apologize. We will get to them next week. Thank you guys so much for everything. And thank you to our TikTok and Instagram viewers as well. And Sammy, go ahead and take us out, boss.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Have a good weekend. God bless you and your family. Love you guys. See you on Monday. Adios.